right now. All right. It's official. There's no going back now, dude. It's live. So hey,
Live,
man.
live. What's up,
Live.
dude?
So it's been not much, brother. How you been doing?
Man, we rolling down here in the Peach State.
Do you survive Hurricane Helene?
Man, let me tell you something. We were very blessed. We were right in the path, and then kind of at the last minute, it turned east of us. And obviously, I feel bad for all the folks that ended up getting pretty hard by the hurricane. But we dodged a bullet big time, man.
That's good, dude. I'm glad to hear it, my brother, because I know I have a friend who lives in Tampa, and I had like a couple of friends that are in the North Carolina area, and they said they dodged everything too, but there was a lot of destruction, and a lot of problems with housing and electricity, and a lot of this. Nobody was in too much peril, but just there's a lot of just you know cleaning up and trying to resettle life again, I guess a bit. So,
Yeah,
so I'm glad you
we
dodged it. Sounds like.
didn't even get the worst of it, man. Those folks in the Carolinas, North Carolina, probably got it worse than anybody. That's strange based on where it came from.
I know Adam Copeland, one of the guys that got it. Him and his people.
Now I'm gonna feel guilty if you told me that you bought that T-shirt as some kind of Helene fundraising thing that he was doing.
Now I got it in the AEW crate from a couple of months back.
Because otherwise you're just an AEW shill.
I am. I mean, I went and found this shirt real quick before I did the live stream just so I could be ready for you.
Well, I've got some thoughts for sure.
I bet you do. I was going to get this or the CM Punk.
Listen, we have gone round and round about CM Punk, and I want you to know that I don't plan on rubbing in the fact that everything that I've said has come to fruition and is true
I might
about
have to.
Mr.
Yeah.
about
Go ahead.
Mr. Punk, about Mr. Punk.
I like to call him Phil Brooks.
I know, I know you do. I'm sure he'd love for you to call him that too.
Yeah,
Do it to
I'm
his
gonna call him
face.
Pepsi Phil. What was that?
I said, say it to his face.
Oh, don't you worry. If I ever caught him outside, I'll catch you outside. How about that? I would.
That's
Oh,
great.
yeah. But yeah, man. I mean, last time we talked, it's probably been a year or close to it. It feels like maybe not quite a year, but in that ballpark. A lot's happened in that time frame with wrestling. So
It has indeed, and I'm glad to see you back on here. And I want to give our condolences for your dad, man. I hated to hear about that.
oh man, I appreciate it, man. I really do. Thank you. It was yeah, man. It's tough. I mean, anybody who's lost a loved one who's been really close, obviously knows what I went through, and not to rehash all that. I pretty much just said it all, but man, I appreciate it, and yeah, it was a difficult time. I'm still going through some stuff, and it's true. It's true. It's damn true about my pops and all that. So yeah, it's been tough, and the thing that sucks is I don't know if you've ever had anything like this happen to you, but like it happened so fast and out of the blue, and I think that's what made it just 10 times worse. So
Yeah.
anytime you lose a loved one, it's never going to be easy, obviously. But when it comes like that, when it's like rainbows and cotton candy and daffodils, and then the next time you see him is like he's literally pretty much on his deathbed. It's like, hold on, wait, what? You just have no time to process that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I needed some time just to kind of regroup, and I just wasn't feeling the joy of doing it, to be honest. And and I think I will talk about this a little bit. Like I've kind of moved away from a lot of like collecting, so to speak. I'm still picking up cards. I have a couple stacks here. I thought maybe I'll just give it like maybe something to talk about. Maybe you pop up a wrestler, pop up like a time frame, and we can chat about it a bit. But I've still been picking up some cards. I've still been picking up some physical media for wrestling stuff on DVD. because as you know, this past year, WWE no longer does physical media. They cut it off. They said we're done. So if everything's out of print now, essentially anything WWE related is out of print because they're not printing it anymore. So it's and as you probably know as well, as the connoisseur of wrestling that you are, that the only time you're going to see the original content is on physical media, because almost all the streaming services they nip and tuck and duck and change and move and remove a lot of stuff that might not be to our delicate sensibilities as 2024 finds us. So, you're not going to find the Roddy Piper blackface with Bad News Brown. You're not going to find that one on there.
And listen, I wake up every morning saying, I want to see that today.
Exactly. You're probably not going to see too many Kamala things either.
Or some Chief Wahoo McDaniels matches.
Chief Wahoo. Probably not a lot of Tatanka running around doing Indian stuff. Probably like in the ring, maybe, but not a lot of the vignettes. Probably not going to be so much about stuff like that. But talking about that, though, we'll let's bring it to this, Joey. What about this past week on Raw? They kind of threw a little Attitude Era quip about talking to the Japanese girls, saying I got to learn Chinese. That caused some ruffles, some ruffles up there.
That was not well thought out.
That was not. I think I'm hearing that was a quip on off the cuff that wasn't scripted.
Yeah, and and therein lies the reason why they script promos instead of letting people go off the cuff. Is
right.
because of things like that, which before they were publicly traded was you could get away with that, but not when you have stockholders to answer to now. So they got to be careful with. Got to be careful with that.
I mean, if you think of that line would be tame 25 years ago. Nobody would even think twice about it.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
And now, I heard that the girls were fine with it. It wasn't anything necessarily there about that. Like he's supposed to be playing like a dummy or whatever. But in general, with the way things are, like we talked about, that's a slippery slope. So it's I think that there's a couple things in AEW this past, like Juice Robinson was talking a lot about MJF and talked about being Jewish and like coins and all this kind of stuff, and that was kind of flying kind of close to the sun, and then you had MJF talking about everybody's dads and like doing stuff with their moms there for a while, and then Christian's doing that whole thing still right now, talking about everybody's dad. So there's a whole bunch of that, in AEW that's actually way more common, not necessarily some of the more racial stuff, but some of the real like taboo, like really where's the line at stuff. And so, but with WWE, it's been very PG for the longest time, so it kind of catches you off guard.
It does, and it stands out more.
Yeah,
you're right.
True.
On an AEW show, and you've got lots of kind of eyebrow raising things being said or storylines and stuff. And I use that term very loosely when I talk about AEW.
Here we go. Let me put the gloves on. I got to get them on here ready.
Now, listen. You mentioned Christian. You mentioned Christian's name, and I'll agree. He's probably one of the best true heels right now. I like the work he's doing now, maybe more than anything he's done. I really do think I think he needs the belt, though. I mean, I think they need to put the belt on him to just kind of take it up a notch. But I think he's doing some of the best work of his career right now.
Well, I think right now, it's interesting because I agree with you. I think they have multiple storylines that are starting. And again, we'll see, because I agree with you, AEW, they'll have like some traction with a couple storylines, and you're like, okay, here is a semblance of something that's getting some movement going, and then they either abandon it or they completely turn around and kind of leave it hanging. But the Christian thing's been going on for the better part of 2 years, so that's been established. That's good. The whole thing with John Moxley right now and his group, that's interesting. I think they're doing a good job. It's a slow burn. They're intertwining the Young Bucks and Okada there. Like, you don't know where they're gonna go. Are they gonna be with AEW originals? Are they gonna, they're trying to stay out of it? You got the MVP now and Benjamin and Shelton Benjamin with the Hurt Syndicate, and they're trying to go around grabbing up all the talent. And that slowly looks like it's building towards bringing Bobby Lashley on. This is going to be good. And so I do believe there is some stories there that you can start seeing. If anything with AEW, they love their factions. That's an AEW thing.
Yeah.
And so with me saying those things, do you think, like, as of right now, like, I think there's the seeds are being planted for something that could be potentially a lot of storylines could be mingling together that might finally kind of get some traction.
In a very loose way, I kind of get some NWO vibes with this Moxley storyline.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that I, in a pipe dream, there's been all this chatter online about one Shane McMahon.
That would be a pretty big deal, I think.
And if they were gonna if he was gonna play any kind of on air role, being like the puppet master of the John Moxley, faction and what's going on with that would be compelling. There's listen, you and I have gone round and round about this, but throwing a bunch of guys into a fishbowl and reaching in and pulling two names out and saying, hey, you guys are going to go at it tonight. That has been the booking for the most part, it seems. Not a lot of stories, just really, really two really good wrestlers wrestling a wrestling match, but without real story, without real things that you can sink your teeth in. There's been some things sprinkled in, but for the most part, and because I know there's going to be some AEW shills such as yourself, some Marky Marks, as I like to refer to you as, out there that are going to say, no, this is a story and that's a story. And what about this story and that story? Let me tell you something. Numbers don't lie, and neither does Joey H44. Okay? I don't lie. To take a line from CM Punk, tell me when I'm telling lies.
Oh, man. We don't have enough time for CM Punk.
Look at the viewership numbers of AEW and what has happened over the last – really, it's really gone down over the last year. I mean, I think I saw where Dynamite had about 400,000 viewers as compared to the nearly way over 1 million, almost 1.5 million, when they first came on. That's not the direction you want to be going. And again, I think it's directly related to the lack of compelling stories for folks to get invested in, and not just two really good wrestlers wrestling a match.
I agree. I mean, I think I've told you this before, and I do agree that, one with the attendance, at the venues, and then one with the television watching, like you're saying, that those numbers are shrinking. And so I do find it to be, both true. Both those things are true, and I do agree. And, I mean, again, there's nothing you said is inaccurate, but I will say, and I'm sure you obviously would agree, that whatever the numbers are, either in person or what Warner Brothers really care about, the television aspect of it, it must be doing enough to keep them on and give them those contracts and more money, and even actually request them to do another show and move it over to HBO Max, it sounds like. And so, yeah, I agree. I mean, they're definitely the second tier promotion. Like, there's no doubt about that, And will they ever get to that other one? Probably never. But the fact that it might actually maybe once they kind of get the rights things worked out for January and moving things over to HBO Max, and still, I think they're doing simulcasting simultaneously, like on TNT/TBS and on HBO Max. That might help a lot. We'll see. I mean, we know when WWE goes over to Netflix, that's going to completely change the game as well. So I do find it'll be interesting. I think 2025, I think we'll have lots of unknowns. We'll start figuring out like where those things are, because Netflix doesn't release their numbers on who watches their programs. So, you could have WWE, they could be having 5 million people watching, or they could have 50,000 people watching. It's like, it'll be interesting to find out if there's a way to track those numbers. Yeah. Because I think there's a couple, online sources that do that. But I think they're doing off like Nielsen ratings or whatever. But I don't think that works with Netflix. So it'll be interesting to see how. I don't think their attendance is going to go down. I just think it'll be interesting how you can keep up with the numbers. What do you have any idea about that? Or
yeah, so a couple of interesting things that you have mentioned. First, I will say that I think the AEW television rights deal with Warner Brothers Discovery is a direct result of the desire of networks to have live sports, and how it does not matter that, well, you only have 400,000 people that watched. It's still valuable in the advertising realm of things, but just live sports. I think if you and I like somehow put together a snot rocket league, and we went live with it, I believe that we probably wouldn't get the same TV deal that AEW did, but somebody pay us.
Let's write up a proposal and take it down there,
because it is live, just like you and I are live right now. It's right. That's important. But no, you mentioned the Netflix deal with WWE, $5 billion deal. And so here's the thing I want you to think about, and all of the probably tens of people that might watch this video. I want this thought to come through, and that is the fact that what's different about Netflix as opposed to the way WWE has been broadcast on USA, Universal, even back when they were broadcast on Spike TV, is that now everybody around the world has access at the same time to WWE. So if you think about the fact that here in the US, we've always been able to watch it, but not everybody around the world's been able to watch it.
Right, that's true.
Everybody around the world who has a Netflix account will be able to watch WWE television. And I think that you're only going to see even a greater explosion of fans. I think that might be why we're starting to see a lot more of these PLEs, as they're calling them now, these premium live events taking place in other countries. And I think you're only going to see more of that, because now there's an audience, even more global audience than there has been in the past.
Yeah, I think that's probably very true.
How about this? No commercials in Netflix. How in the world is a television, a wrestling television show going to look with no commercial breaks?
I like it.
So it's going to be interesting for sure, no doubt.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Because that's definitely like the WWE. They count on those commercial breaks. You know what I'm saying? AEW, they the way they do theirs, they, like in America, there's a end screen. Still, they'll do like a thing, but in other parts of the United States or the world, they just stream it like we're talking about on like Netflix. It just keeps going. Like they don't really go to a commercial break. It just keeps going. But I've heard WWE a lot of times, that's when they do use those commercial breaks to kind of do time, like redo stuff or recalibrate and redo this, and then come back 3 minutes later or whatnot. So, I've heard that before. And I mean, I don't know if that's like all the time or that's like, swear on the Bible type stuff, but it is interesting. And I like the fact that, like you said, I mean, I don't have Netflix, but that might be a reason why I might pick it up because, of course, there's all the other stuff I want to watch, that they has. But I do enjoy watching WWE, not the same level as AEW, but I do watch and do enjoy watching it because, quite frankly, now we're in an age now where there's so much back and forth between talent that we're it's almost like watching AEW Light on WWE and then watching WWF/E on AEW now, because we're bringing so much of the talent over. So I do think it's interesting to see that. And and I know you probably feel the same way I do when it comes down to it. Like, yeah, we like to do like the little sticks at each other, little daggers here and there. But at the end of the day, I just love wrestling.
That's
and
right.
I'm glad everybody has jobs and they're making money and that they can feed their families. And all the tribalism is ridiculous, and it can be fun also at times. And like I said, like goating each other a little bit, but I feel like AEW makes WWE better because let's be honest, before AEW came into the picture, WWE was in the toilet. And as soon as AEW came in and started taking their talent and having at least quasi respectable product that was like challenging enough to the WWE world, then all of a sudden they started turning things around, and now you have what it is today, which is like a juggernaut once again. Which I've heard, you may be able to talk to this more. Like they're more popular, they're a hotter promotion than they may have ever been, even in the '80s with like Hogan and all that stuff. And it might go back to what you were saying, like the international aspect of it and all that, which was a lot more thinned out back in the '80s and the '90s. That wasn't as much of a deal then. And now the global audience, it makes it even hotter than it may have ever been. So, I'm glad for that reason because it kind of iron sharpens iron or whatever. And that's how you say that. And if AEW ends up, like we talked about a few moments ago, has storylines that actually get some momentum going and like that people buy into and enjoy, and they have some emotional connections with what's going on, and people enjoy what they're trying to do. Then not that it's going to eclipse WWE because that's probably a pipe dream, not a pipe bomb, but a pipe dream. But, it will at least make it more of a sustaining, interesting storylines that people are going to keep coming back to. Right. And it will be a good secondary wrestling promotion that you can come and watch if it's, whenever WWE's not doing something you're interested in doing or back and forth. I don't know. So I do think it makes them both better, but definitely WWE has, I think, really benefited from having competition that they didn't have before.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. Look at you dropping some verbiage out of the good book as iron sharpens iron. So one man sharpens another. Look at you.
I have my moments.
So, yes, financially speaking, WWE is as hot as it's ever been, but getting $1 billion from Fox for SmackDown, getting $5 billion from Netflix, that kind of helps. If you want to talk about just how hot the product, the show is, I still contend that the time between 98 and 2001, known as the Attitude Era, when there was 10 million people a week watching pro wrestling in the U.S. between Monday Night Raw and Monday Nitro, that was probably the hottest time for wrestling to me.
Yeah.
But financially speaking, there's no doubt about the fact that it's more profitable now than it's ever been, and wrestlers are obviously making more money now than they've ever made before. So for that reason, it's good. And listen, you're right. Competition does make everything better across the board. But right now, what I've seen is it's made WWE better. I'm waiting for AEW to get better.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that they kind of slipped into this. They're not saying as much. I think they must have Tony got the memo recently, so not saying as much. But they're using that tagline that was so cringy from the WCW era days. They used to say something along the same lines as like, "We're the best wrestle," and that's what they've been saying. The WCW has said something very similar to that.
Where the big boys play.
Where the big boys play, or something like that, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so they had very similar slogan that was just back then. I'm sure as like a teenage kid, I was like, yeah, that's cool. But like as an adult now, hearing "we're the best wrestle" in like every promo they cut, every backstage vignette, every time Tony Schiavone says it or whatever, I'm just like, all right, once a episode, sure, get it in there, say it one time, I got it, get it out of your system. But when you say it like 15 times during one show, it's like, okay, we got it. Like, and I do think they have the better wrestlers by far at AEW. But like you said before, somebody like me who I really just care about the wrestling, I enjoy it, but I do care about storylines because, like you were saying earlier, I don't know if we were on it, but it was like you have the fishbowl scenario, which I like, and you just grab out two wrestlers and go, okay, now guys, go at it. Now they're going to have a hell of a match, more than likely, but there's no emotional investment in the match. Like you don't really care about the outcome, and whatever the outcome is, it will not affect a storyline or anything. It'll just be like moving on to the next week. Which where WWE has had a lot of intertwining of storylines and has been going on for a long time. Like even though I'm not the biggest fan of and never have been with the whole Roman Reigns and all that stuff.
The bloodline story. The bloodline
storyline. There's no doubt that people love it, which is great. There's no doubt that they've invested in a ton of work to make it make sense and continue the storyline and to make it fresh and new and add and remove and all that. I can't say anything about it. It's just like anything else. The story, I just don't have any interest in the storyline, but I do enjoy that they're sticking to their guns and making it, investment in it for other people who do enjoy it and like want to see each week where the story continues to go. So I was more interested in the CM Punk Drew McIntyre storyline. I don't even like CM Punk, and I love that storyline.
That was, I think, I'll be honest with you. I love CM Punk.
Yeah.
But if you look at who benefited the most from that storyline, Drew McIntyre has never been better. He's never been better on the mic. He's never been better in the ring. And listen, I took my son to Bad Blood in Atlanta.
Oh.
So we were there for the Hell in a Cell, the payoff, the big payoff of that feud. And they actually let off the pay-per-view with that match, and it stole the show from right off the jump. I mean, it was so well done. They didn't have to get any plastic bags and put over anybody's head, which is the most asinine thing that I've ever seen. But we can talk about that later. They used the cell as the weapon, which is the way it was intended to be used.
Right.
And I mean, it was just so well. Did you happen to see it? Did you see the match or watch any of the highlights?
I didn't watch all of it, but I've seen the highlights.
So one of the big things was this friendship bracelet, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That Drew took off of CM Punk that had CM Punk's wife's name on it and his dog's name on it, and that ended up being like a focus of the feud. And there at the end, see, we thought it was a bag of thumbtacks that Drew was getting out, but no, it was a bag of these charms for these friendship bracelets. And then Punk takes a handful of them and shoves them in his mouth, wraps a chain around his leg, and gives him the GTS as the finish. It was so well done, dude. So well done. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Did your son enjoy it?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? Listen, it was his birthday present, right? His birthday was in September. He turned 11, and it was the pay-per-view was actually early October, so he had to wait a little while, but it was well worth it. He really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. I'm so glad.
He's a big Jey Uso fan. So he's a big he likes the bloodline now that they're good guys again. Which just thinking you mentioned that. Well, just think about this roller coaster,
yeah,
right? You got the Usos and Roman as the biggest heels in the company, right?
yep,
All to build Cody Rhodes up as the biggest baby face.
yep.
And what happens when they go away? You get Solo Sikoa, and they bring in Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. They bring in Jacob Fatu, who is, I think, going to be a big deal moving forward as like the new bloodline with Solo as the. And now you bring Roman back, and he's the now he I submit to you that he's a bigger baby face than Cody is now. The best
Do
heels
you think
end
it's
up
gonna
making the best baby faces, and now
do you?
the
Yeah.
and now the
So do you
Usos are
think
back
that?
together again. So I mean, it's going to be like the old bloodline. So it's very NWO esque as
Yeah,
well, if you think about it too. So
that's true. So do you think they're setting this up for WrestleMania for Cody versus Roman versus The Rock?
dude, I can't get to WrestleMania. I'm thinking, what are they doing for Survivor Series? I'm guessing they're going to do the war games between the new bloodline and the old bloodline. The Rock came back. I don't know. I guess you saw that. The Rock actually made an appearance at the very end of Bad Blood. His music
Nice.
hits and the roof blows off the place,
Of
and
course.
then his heel music kicks in. So he's not coming back as a good guy. He's coming back as the final boss,
Right.
the heel version of Rock, which he knocked out of the park, I think, during WrestleMania
Yeah.
season last year.
Well, hopefully
Um,
he'll finally get rid of Cody Rhodes' mom at this time.
I think this is going to be their opportunity to do what they originally wanted to do to begin with, which is Roman versus Rock.
Okay, yeah.
That to me, that's probably where they're going.
Now I know I don't think he's a part of the family. I don't think, but when it comes when you're dealing with Hawaiians and the Tongans and all these other people from all these other countries and stuff, Hawaii's a state, of course. But like, what about Hikuleo? Is he? I heard he's coming to WWE, and I know that's Ming's son, right? Who played Ming?
I know that one of is it Tamatonga was Haku or Ming's son.
Yeah, Haku.
I
Oh,
don't.
yeah. Well, Hikuleo is too. Hikuleo is
Yeah.
Haku's son too, and
So
he's
that they might be
a
brothers.
giant.
Okay.
Right.
See, I'm not as familiar with him, to be honest, and I hate that I can't speak more to him. But I couldn't speak to Jacob Fatu until he made his debut. But apparently he is he's trimmed down about 45 lbs.
Yeah.
And is just a beast. And I'm gonna tell you, I don't know. The other night, I think it was either this past Monday. It was this past Monday night during the main event. They were getting involved or whatever, and it came to a face-off between Jacob Fatu and Braun Breaker, who is the son of Rick Steiner.
Rick Steiner, yeah.
And the crowd really reacted to that, and so that probably planted a seed of something that we'll be seeing as far as a feud at some point in the future. So
that'll be good. Braun Breaker's great, man. I really like him a lot.
he is. To be as young as he is, he's got that intensity. And man, he hits those ropes so fast, dude. I don't know if you've seen the spear that he throws, but he'll get to go in and start bouncing off those ropes. I think they clocked him at like 25 miles an hour off the ropes.
I need a Braun Breaker Gunther match.
Yes.
I think that'll be for the ages.
That'll be good, but he'll have to get in line behind Goldberg. I believe that's going to be what we're going to see next, pal.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, hey, what up, Gary? Bing Scott's in the house. What up, Gary? But Yeah, I would love to see that'll be a good one too. But I mean, you know how Goldberg's probably going to go there just to get a payday. We know that.
Oh yeah. Well, at Bad Blood, they brought back a bunch of legends, WCW legends mainly, since they were in Atlanta. So they
They didn't
mentioned
bring back
Goldberg.
Sting.
Well, no, they didn't bring back. I didn't know this, but Sting is committed to AEW, like kind of like I guess would be like a Legends deal or something. So yeah, we won't be seeing him in WWE anytime soon. But um, when Gunther came out, he called out Goldberg. That's why I think they're building something. He said, uh, "Come on in the ring, Goldberg. I got 3 minutes to spare." Talking about how fast Goldberg matches were because he was not a very good worker per se.
Well, was it Gunther? That they didn't he set this up like a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago when he told Bret Hart his favorite wrestler was Goldberg or something like that, and like
So
Bret
good.
Hart oh shit, here we go.
So good. So good.
Yeah, I was like, here we go. WWE, unlike AEW, which will sometimes tease things that don't actually come to fruition. I think WWE, like we talked about before, is way more like protecting and scripting of things exactly how it's gonna happen. Like they're not gonna just drop a line like that and then not have that come out to be like have some sort of purpose later. And once he said that Goldberg was like his favorite wrestler, I was like, oh, here we go. Like he's gonna show up at some point. Like that was the seeds that were being planted right there.
Well, WWE kind of took a page out of AEW's playbook with the Forbidden Door.
Yeah,
As they started working a lot more with TNA and
which has been great.
yes, bringing in like Joe Hendry and Jordan Grace. And dude, how about the new tag team champions?
Motor City
Alex,
Machine Guns.
Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, the Motor City, 3 matches and they're the champs.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised because it has to be obviously Triple H, the game, the cerebral assassin, because he's letting these guys come in and actually win. Like Jordan Grace is coming in and she's winning. Jade Cargill came in, she's winning. Ethan Page came in, he won a title like within a couple of weeks. And the Motor City Machine Guns, they got a title. And underneath the previous dictatorship, they would have been jobbed out. They would have been jobbed out, and then they would have went back to the back of the line, that which you probably never see again. Tatanka would be more than likely coming back for a title shot before Ethan Page. And
look what they did with Sting when he finally did come in at WrestleMania. Right. That would have been the perfect time. And what'd they do? They put Triple H over.
Yeah.
But that was Vince. That was Vince in charge. So yeah, you definitely see a different WWE now under Paul Levesque.
Paul Levesque. But I do find it interesting because, in the past also, if you're a WWE person, you almost felt for sure if they're coming from another promotion, they're going to have to like kind of get a while before they get, moved up to the top. There was a little bit of proving ground type stuff going on, right? And now and they have to kind of prove they can handle the WWE like style or method or whatever. And so you have a lot like the CM Punks and the Bryan Danielsons and the AJ Styles. A lot of those guys like had to do like they had to like pay their dues a lot more. So they were kind of like work their way up to the main roster and like really like get in the limelight. And some of them were even like Bryan Danielson's a perfect example. They didn't even want him in that position, And like now, so the WWE guys can kind of have somewhat felt safe. Like, I don't have to worry about these people coming and taking my spot. But now a lot of these people are coming in and like taking spots right out of the gate, like they're becoming like right at the tippy top. Yeah, you almost feel for sure like Joe Hendry and then like Jordan Grace, when their contracts are up, they're going to be at WWE. Like it almost is like, it's like no doubt.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that, from everything that I read, it was a lot of this was due to a lawsuit that that MLW filed against WWE for being a monopoly, right? And
Right.
so I feel like maybe this TNA relationship came about a lot as a result of that. But what I'm hoping that they're seeing from that is, hey, we can do this, it can work, and it helps both companies.
Right. I think so. I mean, I think, like when AEW did the same thing, 3 years ago, AEW did not let those guys get over. None of the TNA guys had a fair shake at, anything. It was just them jobbing out basically to AEW, and AEW did that same thing with the NWA. They had Thunder Rosa come over. They had, I think, Camille came over for a short stint, and they essentially, had a couple okay matches, but they took Thunder Rosa, then they made her a thing. But before, it was kind of she was on the back of the line like all the other ones, and just kind of used her. And now, obviously she's like a much more part of the product because she's there. She's a part of the team. But I do think they've also learned their lesson because they brought a lot. They work with CMLL and they work with New Japan, and those guys are getting a lot of screen time as well. And so I think hopefully they both have learned, like, if you're going to work with these other promotions, you got to throw them a bone. You can't just be like just jobbing their talent out because no one wants to be in that position. And I think you're right. I think TNA has had better outcomes with their products because of this.
Sure. If it works for both places, why not?
Right. Yeah, I agree. So let me ask you this. So now I know last time we talked a lot about Jade, hopping over. Now that you see her on a regular basis with the WWE, and everybody was used to talk all the smack about she was a terrible wrestler, she had a good look, but she couldn't wrestle worth a darn. But now that she's been with WWE for basically a year now, maybe even longer at this point or close to it, what's your thoughts now with it? Do you think that she's going to finally, does she already get it? Is she getting it? Is she never going to get it? Is she just going to look good, but is she never really going to understand how that works? Or what's your thoughts? Because last time I saw her, I felt like she was still the same Jade from AEW. Like, it wasn't like a huge improvement in her ring wrestling. So what's your thoughts?
Well, the look is phenomenal, and that's never going to change. I mean, she looks carved out of the side of a freaking Rocky Mountain. But which, by the way, do you know who she's married to?
Yeah, Brandon Phillips.
Dude, I had no idea.
Cincinnati Reds.
Well, he was a Brave too. Let's.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, he was a Brave too. But yeah, I mean that's a great question. Yeah, the look is there. It's always been there. I feel like she's gotten better. Now I've watched with a pretty critical eye, for botches, and I've seen my fair share with her. But I would not expect her to be perfect. I wouldn't expect her to be without flaw. It's a completely different style of performance from AEW. She probably stood out more in all the wrong ways because she was still greener than goose poop,
Right.
But over on the other side, there's a little bit more story than there is. It's all about the match. It's not all about the match. That's important, but it's also, if you look, she's been in a tag team situation pretty much the entire time she's been on TV, which protects her as well. And she's been in a tag team with somebody who is outstanding in the ring. And of course, we all know what's going to eventually happen. My guess is one of your big marquee matches at WrestleMania is going to be Jade versus Bianca, because there's going to be some kind of riff.
Yeah, you would think it has to go that direction, eventually. It's just, and it'll be interesting. I'm assuming they'll put Jade over at that point if they think that she's ready, because she's like right on the cusp of kind of like right there. I mean, if she can get to that level, she has that look. She has to be able to do it in the ring too. I mean, at least be serviceable. She doesn't have to be like she doesn't have to be Bret Hart, but
Let's put it.
She also can't be Tugboat.
I was speaking of Tugboat. Let's talk about Nia Jax because I was that might get us kicked off YouTube right there. Sorry.
Oh man.
She's terrible. Like she's genuinely terrible. And now her character work has gotten better, but
Yeah.
there was the match between her and Bailey at Bad Blood was god awful. It was god awful. So Jade is already better than her, as on an individual performance basis. Nia is terrible in the ring. She's terrible in the ring.
You know who I think deserves more time, and maybe I'm just not. Maybe she's getting plenty of time. I was missing it, but I mean, I just think she's absolutely great. Like as a character, wherever I've ever seen her, she's been great. And as a wrestler, I think she's fantastic too. Maybe not the best, but definitely, wonderful. Is Chelsea Green?
Oh my dude, I'm such a fan of hers. I am such a fan.
I just think she's so good. And the fact that I don't think they use her the way they need to use her, and like as much as they should, is such a detriment to WWE because they have a gold bar sitting there, and she's like hanging out with Piper Niven or whatever, doing great character work, like silly, goofy stuff.
Yes. But they are going to end up making her a huge, huge baby face, though. I'm telling you, right now she's playing that kind of Karen character, But a couple of things come to mind about Chelsea Green is that huge ladders and table spot that she had in the Money in the Bank ladder match. I don't know if you caught that, but she took a huge plunge off the top of a ladder through a table, and then recently she had a dumpster match with Mia Yim.
Keith Lee's wife.
Right, Keith Lee's wife, where she was power bombed into a dumpster, which
by Mia Kim.
Yes, by Mia Yim, like a off the ring, sit down power bomb into a dumpster. Oddly enough, Mia Yim comes out completely clean, but when Chelsea Green emerges, she's covered with goo and debris.
Right.
I don't know how that happened. They both went into the same dumpster. Anyway. But yeah, she's fantastic. But look, everything she's done has always been really good. Remember, she played the bride in TNA and stuff. She's always done really good. And I think WWE knows what they have in her, and I think they're going to. I think that she eventually is going to become a huge babyface.
I hope so because I like her as a person. I like her as a wrestler. I like her as a character. She just she seemed like a super down to earth person. Like just like one of the like easy. Like whenever I've seen her with Matt Cardona when they're doing their stuff, I always feel like she's just like a really just like chill person, which I think is cool. Like she's real, just like a typical just like fun person to hang out with. And then to see her be her like out of control character, that's like obviously a great actress, to be honest. Like that type of commitment to that ridiculousness is pretty epic.
It's called she's being given chicken poop and she's making chicken salad out of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. But yeah, I feel like she's one of the most underutilized, or maybe like you said, they're preparing it. They're setting the table for her, and everything's gonna work out. But she's one of those ones where I'm just like, okay, like if they don't use her the way they should be using her, that's gonna be just a darn right shame, So hopefully it gets on there.
And WWE has a problem. They have a potential problem on their hands that they're going to have to figure something out with because the depth of the women's division in NXT is deep. I mean, they are deep, and to the point I've even heard some talking heads online say they've got enough to make their own show, like a all women's show, because they've got that many. And they keep adding. They just added Julia. They just added Stephanie Vacker or
Yeah,
Vicaire,
she's
ever how you,
great.
and then somebody, and you may be more familiar with this person. I think that she went under the name of Delta
Yeah,
on
she
the,
just came in.
and she's I think her name is Zariah now.
Yeah,
And so I don't know much about her, but they said they brought her in as a surprise, so she must be a big deal too.
yeah, and they also just brought in, or maybe I don't know, they brought her in, but she's been there for a little bit of time. It was, oh shoot, she came in around the same time as Stephanie Vancouver did. Giuliana from New
Julia,
Japan.
Julia.
Julia, yeah,
Yeah.
she's great too. So yeah, I mean, they have some very huge stars and prospects that can be big stars. I don't know if you saw the Stephanie Valcure match with Mercedes, Sasha Banks, but it was actually a really good match, and I never even heard of her until then. So I went back and looked at some of her other matches, and she's legit. She's like the real McCoy. Like I don't think she's going to really need a lot of time in NXT. Like she'll need to learn like the WWE way, I guess, so to speak. But as far as the wrestling part's concerned, there's not. I don't think a whole lot they're going to have to teach her on that part. You know, maybe some of the things they want you to do, obviously, is that they're kind of wrestler. But it's not like she's going to go in there because she was like a gymnast they found online that they're going to make a wrestler. Like she already has that stuff down. They're just going to need to have her
Yeah.
like be able to talk and be able to do like their style. But yeah, I think she's going to be great. I was disappointed that AEW lost her because everybody at AEW just assumed they're going to get her because she was on their pay per view, and she was like deuces on the night after. She already left with the WWE basically the next day.
Well, I'll be honest. I mean, there's no doubt Tony Khan can pay. I mean, the guy's got billions, but at the end of the day, these folks aren't. They're not dumb. They know.
No,
They see which company's getting the most eyeballs and the most attention, and what's going to be better for their brand long term. You know what I
oh
mean?
for sure,
And you mentioned Mercedes Moné.
Monet, yeah.
Is she the worst signing of a WWE to AEW in the history of the company? Is she the worst? I say she is the worst.
By far, by far. I don't. She is like I'm not. I don't want to make this political, but she is like a handful of our current political candidates who says the same things every time. Like no deviation, same dance moves, same talking points, same hand gestures. It is so ridiculous, and I'm like, you're whatever it is that you think is it's not working. Like maybe that worked in WWE at some point 10 years ago. I don't know. But it's not doing anything for you. And now that she has Camille with her as her heater or whatever, and she's outshining her, it's like yesterday they had a match I watched on like Rampage, and it was Camille versus Queen Aminata. I don't know if you saw that match. You may not have been because most people ain't watching it. It was a hell of a match. Fantastic match. I highly recommend watching it. It's like 10 minutes. It's not like it's going to be like a long time, right? And Mercedes was there the whole time. You could care less. And at the very end, they have the whole like whatever you want to call it, bumper or whatever to prepare you for next week. And then like Chris Statlander comes out to challenge um, uh, Camille, and they're standing toe to toe, and you could care less about Mercedes. Like she's right there, and it's almost like a blip on your screen. And there's a scene where that Chris Taylor like elbows her in the face or whatever, and like knocks her down or knocks her out. She rolls out of the match or rolls out of the ring, and then her and Camille like go toe to toe. They're basically the same size, and they're going toe to toe. And you like ready for that match. You don't even realize that Mercedes Moné is the whole reason they're even fighting because she needs to get to Mercedes because it's so insignificant because no one cares. So
Millions of dollars,
was she
dude.
that weak? Was she that much of a weak, uninspired wrestler at WWE, or was she a way
No,
bigger deal?
no, she was a way bigger deal because of the people she was working with.
Yeah,
The
I think
people,
that
the
has to
people,
be it. You're right.
the people she was working with made her a bigger deal.
Okay. So like the
Because
Charlotte Flairs and the Baileys and
that's
the
absolutely right.
Becky Lynch
That's
and all
right.
them, right?
That's absolutely
Oh,
right, man. You hit the nail on the head, and millions of dollars later, because Tony paid her millions.
yeah, I think they said something like $5 million.
And did you hear this? She's got creative control of her character.
That's probably the real reason why it sucks. I mean, because I will give Tony credit. Like a lot of times he lets them come up with some of their stuff, but he also tries to keep the reins on a little bit. And obviously, sometimes it completely goes off kilter. But I would think at this point he would be like, it's not working. We need to redo this a little bit. We need to change this a bit because they were initially brought her in as a baby face, and that lasted like a total of like 45 seconds.
Because she's
after
so
she left
unlikable.
Boston, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. As soon as
she's
she
so
left her
unlikable.
hometown, it was over.
Yeah, yeah, you hit the nail on the head, man. They had to change based on the crowd reaction she was getting.
Right. And that's when they
So,
still were getting somewhat decent crowds. So,
well, let's talk about some more AEW poor
sure.
decisions while we're at it. How did you
Yeah,
like
well,
the way that? How did you like the way that? How did you like the face off between Swerve and MVP and Shelton Benjamin? Did you happen to see that?
yeah, I watched that episode, or I watched those like that. I'm interested. I don't know where it's going. I feel like it's going to go where, because Swerve almost feels like he's an AEW original because he was so poorly used at WWE, to be honest. It's like he was there and he had a cup of coffee, maybe a little longer with WWE, but it wasn't like he was overtly important to that product, to be honest. He feels like a much bigger deal at WWE or at AEW, kind of like Tony Storm in the same vein. As like they're just much bigger deals. So I could see him being kind of like an AEW original, like on the AEW side with this whole like Hurt Syndicate, which is obviously guys off from WWE. Like they're trying to get Leo Rush in. Leo Rush obviously was also in AEW or WWE as well. He's giving out his business card to Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks. So you could tell he's kind of like trying to connect with the WWE guys. Like he's not really giving his card out many to the AEW guys. So I can see it being like he might be on that group, and again more friction going with that possibly. But I can also see him possibly joining, which will be interesting. I think that actually would be like they could have some matches against each other, but at some point maybe he joins. I mean, again, because there could be stories there, so I'm interested to see. What about you? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I really don't know where they're going, which is great because that's one of the few times I want to be surprised where the journey takes us. Hopefully, it's not going to be ridiculous and it gets cut short. But what about you? What are your thoughts?
So I'm looking isolated the actual interaction itself between Swerve and MVP and Shelton. So right, you're bringing Shelton in, and whether or not people realize this or not, Shelton Benjamin is a legit bad A. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he is.
Him and Brock Lesnar are like legit guys, right?
Yes, he is legit, and so I felt like them having Swerve shove Shelton. Didn't do Shelton any favors. I would have much rather seen Swerve kind of kowtow a little bit when Shelton steps up, kind of kowtow a little bit rather than get aggressive, just to make Shelton seem like a threat, like a bigger deal. Because I think ultimately that's why he never really got over in WWE as much as he could have, is because his character was never perceived as like a serious kind of character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's out there with his mama.
I do like the his mama. I do like the Hurt business was over, dude. I mean, it was over, and so the fact that they're going to bring that over to AEW, I'm excited to see what happens. And as much as I dog AEW, and I do dog them, I'm one of the 400,000 people that are still watching.
the few, the proud, the AEW, whatever it is. Yeah, I like it.
The few, the proud, the submarine. This is
Right.
AEW.
But I think they did do. I agree with you. The way maybe they could have did a little bit differently with like the introduction of them, kind of like officially backstage with them, like a little bit of interaction. But if you saw him throw Lio Rush around like a rag doll, like that was what we needed to see on his first match of him being like completely dominating. They gave Lio Rush a couple moments, which is fine. You don't want to be like a complete squash match because that's not going to do anybody any favors to a guy that you actually want to build up still too. But at the end of the day, he literally dropped him on his head multiple times, and so that was pretty crazy. And then he did the same thing to Sammy Guevara this past week. Sammy had a couple good, moments or whatever. But again, it was pretty much like 95%, just Shelton is like throwing Sammy around like a rag doll. And it was awesome. So I definitely like that. And they're going to do that to Bobby Lashley, like even more so. He should eat mofos for like a good month or two. Like just completely annihilate everybody and anybody. Even the AEW some of the bigger name stars like a Darby Allin or somebody, like let them go after him and let them like be the monster he needs to be. And then when he actually is going to lose or like really build towards a real good storyline where he takes out maybe one of the big dogs in AEW, it really means a lot with the Hurt Syndicate or whatever. I want them to be like legit true heel, like a faction. Like the one thing AEW does terrible is that you get like a legit heel faction or a babyface faction, and then they change it like in the same 6 months to a year to the opposite, the direction they were going. Like BBC is a good example. They were babyface stable, then they turned bad guys, and then what was the other? There was another one that they did that not too long ago. Oh shoot, what was it? The Undisputed with Adam Cole and all them. They were bad guys, and they changed them all to good guys all of a sudden.
Don't get me started on Adam Cole. And this whole thing with him and MJF, where
who cares,
dude?
Snooze fest.
What sense does it make? Why should we care when Adam Cole comes back now he's a babyface? What he did to MJF as the devil character, and then he gets hurt and goes away, and he comes back as a good guy.
Yeah,
I mean, he. I don't know. I think they could have come up with something different, something better, something a little more consistent. That's the word. Very inconsistent. Very inconsistent with some of the characters and the direction that some of them are going in, and
I just don't think maybe Shawn Michaels saw something special in him back when he was at NXT. He was being groomed to be the next Shawn Michaels or something. I don't know. I never saw him over there. I don't know how good or not good he was, but apparently he must have been pretty good over there. But since he's been at AEW, I know he's been hurt a lot, so some of that might not be his fault. I'm saying. But when he's had the matches and he's had some handful of good matches, like with a good competition, I should say, I have not been impressed with anything he's done.
Mm-hmm.
And
he just broke up with his lady friend too.
Yeah, that's the biggest loss he's ever had because Britt Baker is a smoke show.
That make me pretty sour myself.
Yeah, I might need an extra couple months to recuperate from that loss. But I will say that AEW's done a good job with their women's division. Again, like I think they have some legit great wrestlers now. I mean, I've always felt like they've kind of got crapped on, and maybe the first couple of years, that's probably what's fair to say. But I feel like now, though, I feel like at this point they have some really good women wrestlers, in that lineup that can go. You could pluck them out, put them with the WWE, and you wouldn't miss a step, if you're going to think that. Again, not everybody, absolutely not, but a good handful of them are like, good. And I do enjoy it. And I do think, like you said, with the Swerve Strickland stuff, to kind of get back to that, I'm interested to see, because I know one of the things, and I don't know how you feel about this, but there is some truth to this, I guess, which again, I don't watch WWE religiously, so I can't keep up. But one of the criticisms that MVP talked about, like in real life, was WWE wasn't given lots of spotlights to non-white wrestlers. And AEW has definitely should not be accused of that, because they've done quite a good job with a lot of that, quite frankly, showcasing their talent almost from day one.
That is what the Hurt Syndicate needs to be. The Hurt
Right.
Syndicate needs to be a 2024 version of the Nation of Domination.
I was thinking that exact same thing. I was like, what can they be? Like, I knew it was a Nation of Domination, but for some reason I kept thinking of like Kama, and like I was thinking like all those guys, and Mark Henry, and I was sitting there thinking like, what was the name of the group? But yes, that's what it was. But they need their version of Owen Hart. They need one Owen Hart in there. Maybe it could be Orange Cassidy.
I was trying to think, who's the whitest white guy on AEW?
That's him, though. Orange Cassidy by far is the whitest of white guys. He comes in with his pockets. This and his pockets.
Comes in,
but I do think that's true. I think they can do that stable, and and you could get another 2 or 3, or even one of the females, and like Athena, Ember Moon. I think she would be great for that group. Like she's a legit, really good wrestler as well. Like somebody in there that brings her off of Ring of Honor, and because she just kind of just disappeared. Unfortunately, I hate that for her. Yeah. She's one of my favorite wrestlers. I mean, I love Athena. Like I really enjoy her wrestling. Like there was a time, I think we talked about this once before, where they had her on AEW a lot, but that was because she had started her first run with Ring of Honor as a champ. She was throwing fools out of the ring, like onto the floor, like legitly looked like shoot wrestling. Like she was like throwing them out of the ring, like onto their faces, and like kicking them off the turnbuckles and hitting them with stuff. And when you watch, I'm like, is this really happening? Did she get the okay to do this to these poor kids, like these poor girls?
Yeah.
And I mean, she's a great wrestler. I just wish they would show her more. But anyways,
well, you got people like her, right? Mm-hmm. You got people like Athena.
Yeah.
And then you got people like Mercedes Moné.
Right, exactly.
And that's so true. They should basically switch places. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So what do you think about this? I don't know if you've seen it enough, because they're just starting again. Because AEW, like we've mentioned before, because I'm willing to acknowledge a lot of the shortcomings with AEW, But one of the things I was wondering, they're starting to place again. It's consistent, but it's not like in your face. They're putting Deonna Purrazzo and Taya Valkyrie together, and they're doing these little clips, like once every Dynamite or a Collision, where they're like hanging out together, talking about how they're basically like just keeping an eye on the women's division, or like, there's certain little like things that are like, when you mess with her, you mess with me, and we're together and all this stuff. So, I think those two women are also great wrestlers, especially Taya Valkyrie. I think she's fantastic. And I'm hoping that they do something with them. I would like to see a women's tag team division. I know it's something that might be another belts that we don't need too much stuff going on, but I don't know. There's so many women now in there that you feel like just the 2 belts isn't enough, to be quite honest. But anywho, I'd like to see them being used more, and those are like legit good wrestlers. But they're also homegrown ones, like the Queen Aminata. She's doing great. I really like her a lot. Have you watched any of her matches? I feel like she has a great look, very unique presentation, being African, like a legit African. And she looks good in the ring. Like she does some pretty good promos, surprisingly, for a young person. I don't know if you've seen any of her stuff.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of it. Yeah, and I agree with you. She kind of strikes me as a younger version of like the Awesome Kong.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah, okay, I can see that. Let me ask you this, switching gears real quick. What do you think about Brian Pillman Jr., Lexi King, I think, right? I kind of feel like he got lost in the shuffle recently, but maybe I'm just not catching it. Like, is he still around or what's going on with him?
Yeah, he's still around. I think he's going to end up like getting a baby face push.
Okay.
They've had him as a heel. He's been a pretty good heel. Very unlikable, and he has these razor sharp edges to his beard and goatee and stuff. They've just made him look real. I mean, totally different than the character he played as Brian Pillman Jr. I just, at the end of the day, don't know how you get this guy over without making him Brian Pillman's son.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. He looks just like him. It's not even like he can hide it.
Yeah, I don't know how he gets any traction without on his own away from that fact that he's a second generation guy. You know what I mean?
And usually they lean into that at or WWE. That's usually one of their big things. But for whatever reason, they've kind of moved away from that with him. I don't know really why.
I don't know that they mentioned it once. They may have, but I don't know, man. Maybe because he didn't want it.
Maybe that's true. That's true. But like the Usos, about it, with Roman Reigns, with The Rock, with Cody Rhodes. I mean, it's like, such a part of the conversation. It's like, all the time. I'm sure there's people I'm forgetting that's like there a lot too. But, they definitely don't shy away from that. And then with him, it's like it doesn't even almost exist, like you said.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. So let me ask you about this guy.
Yeah.
What about, LA Knight? Whatever happened with him, dude? I feel like he kind of fell down the card.
Oh, man.
Maybe I'm wrong. You could be like, oh, no, he's like a major player, but I haven't heard him as much.
He's a major player. He won the U.S. belt at WrestleMania. So he's
off of Logan Paul.
Off of Logan Paul, yeah. He's the U.S. champion. He's fixing to defend in a triple threat match at Crown Jewel against Carmelo Hayes and Andrade.
And against Kamala.
Not against Kamala, the Ugandan giant. Which, by the way, the dude acted like he didn't speak any English. But I've found videos of him speaking absolute perfect English.
Well, since he's from Mississippi, he should.
What a mark. What a mark.
Well, let's talk about people trying to pretend to be something else. I did not know, and I'm sure you being a more old school guy with wrestling than probably even me and him, I know a lot about it, but I'm thinking even more, is the whole Abdullah the Butcher thing, for trying to pretend that he doesn't understand English either, and like never want to pay for his meals, never want to act like he anytime he was going to get in trouble or anything, he acted like he was like legitimately from Uganda or wherever he was supposed to be from. And he acted like he couldn't read and all this kind of stuff. And he was just like, and the dude was like born and raised in like, Louisiana or wherever he's from, like Georgia or something. And it's like, he went his whole life, like living the gimmick of this Abdullah the Butcher gimmick, and to try to get out of like ever taking any personal responsibility for anything. I'm like, what?
Think about how much money that dude made over his career, and you don't know. Yeah, I think he had like a little wing restaurant or something in Atlanta somewhere. But oddly enough, all of his literacy issues only came about when he was litigated against. So, or when there were bills to pay. So I don't know. Yeah. Bless his heart. Bless his heart. Bless his heart.
Bless his heart. That's a southern way of saying, you know what? Go after yourself. Bless his little heart.
Bless his heart.
Oh my gosh! I know what you Southerners are like. You're not tricking me. My heart has been blessed plenty of times in the South. So.
Oh, listen, I bless your heart all the time.
Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness! So what are you thinking? So we as we round out the year, we got about 2 months and change. I'm going to be going to a Royal Rumble in Indianapolis, so I'll have to tell you all about that.
Oh yeah, dude, you have to tell me about that, man.
You should come out, man. I'll put you up for free at my house, dude. We should go.
dude. If I could, I would. I don't. Based on how my school schedule works, and we're back to school literally like January 2nd. Or I don't know the date of the Royal Rumble. It's later in January, isn't it?
I thought that or February. I thought maybe January, February, maybe.
Yeah, it might be early February. But I took my son to the Royal Rumble down in Tampa, what used to be Tropicana Field.
Right.
It's roofless at the moment. But we went to the Royal Rumble this past year.
The Ruthless Aggression. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going. Pat McAfee, he's gotten good with everybody in Indianapolis and then with the WWE. So I think we're going to be getting a lot of PLEs here in the coming years.
Yes, Pat McAfee is probably Indiana's greatest contribution to basically, to humanity.
To humanity. I thought that was Dick Murdoch.
The greatest thing to ever come out of Indiana, Pat McAfee.
Not Michael Jackson, not Axl Rose, not John Cougar Mellencamp, Pat McAfee.
Not Larry Bird.
Not Larry Legend, right. Not Larry Legend.
McAfee.
Pat McAfee, right. That's true.
Who's not even a native Indianian.
Right, exactly. He's not even, yeah. This is true. He is a transplant that we've accepted as our own. Actually, one of my good friends I go to church with, she's an optometrist in the area that Pat McAfee lives in, and she works right across the street from his studio. So she always sees him coming and going every day or whenever he's in town or whatever.
I think he bought like an old church. I think that's where they do.
Yeah, I think so.
They do his show out of.
Yeah, because she said she knows what his car looks like because she see him comes and goes all the time from the studio or wherever. And so, she said it's right across the street from where she works in all of the richest area of Indiana, as you could expect. So, it makes sense. It's like the fancy schmancy area. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense that he has a studio down the street, probably from his house or one of his many houses.
So it's the part of Indiana that actually has indoor plumbing then, huh?
It is. It's one of the few spots that we have indoor plumbing. We actually have electricity in those areas. So yeah,
I'm sitting here talking smack, and I'm from Georgia. So
Georgia, you on them real Georgia crackers?
That's right.
But yeah, what I was going to ask you, as the year kind of comes to an end, going into 2025, well, do you have any predictions that how the way the year might end a little bit going into 2025? Anything, maybe not predictions, but maybe what you like to see from either both promotions or either promotion, or maybe a couple of wrestlers you're kind of looking to see what they might have coming up that you're hoping to see them kind of get more time on screen or more opportunities?
So obviously, I guess WWE wise, I'm intrigued by where they're going to go with this bloodline storyline. Mm-hmm. Now that there's two divisions of it, one good, one bad. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see what role The Rock plays in all of that. I'm excited to see John Cena's last year in wrestling is 2025. So is he going to factor into some of the main events? He's won, if I'm not mistaken, he's one title win away from 17, which would make him the all-time leader above Ric Flair. And as we saw, as we've seen with some of these records and things like that, WWE's wanting to get some newer names. Like Gunther broke the Honky Tonks Man's Intercontinental reign. Little shake, rattle, and roll. Just stuff like that. So who knows what 2025 is going to look like with Cena. I'm excited about.
You think? Let me ask you, do you think they'll inject Cena into the Bloodline storyline at all? Possibly for a Rock Cena one more match, or like some kind of dust up maybe, or like a tag team match or something with those guys, or what do you thought? What do you think?
Yeah, I almost think they have to, because you can't really have Cena going out unless he has an encounter with probably one of his biggest rivals. Was that 2 year period with him and The Rock main event
Right.
two WrestleManias back to back, or at least involved in two WrestleManias back to back. So, but we'll see. I'll tell you who else I'm going to be watching real closely is Cody Rhodes, and
Okay.
it's how long, because here's what I submit to you. I submit Cody Rhodes is more heel than he is babyface.
At this point, or here coming up soon?
Not in character per se, but in his presence, his overall presence. Him coming out to the ring in his three-piece suits and
Yeah.
his incredibly complex vernacular. He reminds me of a modern day Nick Botwinkle, using the
Nice.
big fancy jargon. That is not babyface stuff. He must not realize who comes to wrestling shows. All right. I can promise
you're gonna get some heat for that.
I can promise you, you ain't got a crowd full of Rhodes scholars out there, Cody. All right, let's get down to some simpler vocab. But what I mean is, how long is this whole babyface run gonna last, and what is going to eventually have him turn heel? Because that's got to happen. That's got to happen to freshen him up a little bit.
Yeah. Is he going up against Kevin Owens? Is that what I was seeing, or Randy Orton or something?
So this is interesting. After Bad Blood, we were walking out of the arena, and right down below us, we see Kevin Owens just beating the holy hell out of Cody Rhodes. We saw it happening as we were walking by. Who was that? Is that Cena or is that Batista? Oh, Batista.
Batista.
Ooh, that's got a little shine to it.
Yeah, I'm a huge Batista fan, so I've been picking up a bunch of his cards.
Nice.
So anyway,
yeah, but yeah, we saw Kevin Owens beating up Cody Rhodes, not on camera or anything, or at least not officially. So yeah, I guess that's now it's Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton at Crown Jewel. That's going to be the big match.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. Now, as far as AEW, I'm interested to see what direction this Jon Moxley. Have they named this faction? Have they named it? Do they have a name?
I mean, I think it's still going by the BCC, but I don't know. I've heard them say that. I've heard them say
it makes no sense. Why are you still calling yourself? William Regal has been gone for a year and a half.
Right, I agree. I think they need to change. They may change it with if they introduce Shane McMahon. I mean, I would assume they would probably change at that point. I mean, he did make a mention of this is a new paradigm and AEW or something like this is the paradigm shift I told you about. So I don't know. They keep using the word paradigm, so maybe something to do with that, perhaps. I do agree with you. Like, I'm not hearing them say it, BBC. I'm hearing the commentators say that. So maybe there hasn't been an official from Tony Khan or whatever. Like, this is where we're going with this title and whatnot. But I do think, like you mentioned before, I don't mean to cut you off, but I think Shane McMahon, if that's actually going to happen, and the Bobby Lashley thing that is going to happen, just they're waiting for the right time to bring him on. Like, those two things could inject some much needed life support into AEW because, those are names that people recognize across the board. There's a lot of name recognition with those guys for sure.
Dude, but anyway, you'll love this. I heard somebody talk about this on YouTube. They said if you took every wrestler who's made an appearance on on either Dynamite, Rampage, or Collision, like if you took people and you never saw them again, you saw them one time, and you took all of those people and put them in a Royal Rumble,
Uh-huh.
You'd have like 3 different Royal Rumble matches. Like you'd have like 90, like 90 people because you see them one time and you never see them again. They show up one time and then poof, they're gone like Kaiser Soze.
That's true. They're notorious for that. But you know who I thought was going to do that? I thought it's a. I don't. I'm sure you've caught them, but it's a tag team. I thought they were going to do that to them, and they kind of was like being jobbed out initially. The Outrunners. Have you been catching those guys?
I have not.
Dude, I am telling you, go type in Outrunners, like AEW Outrunners. They're cutting 80s promos that, I mean, even with the VHS camera, like they're doing like the VHS camera, like they're like in their mom or dad's basement, like working out with everything. And it's just, it's like they're like on the beach, like running on the beach, like, you know, slow motion. And they got the hairstyle with like it's balding on top, but it's like the blonde
Yes,
on the
I have.
side.
That's what I was going to ask you. I said, are these?
Yeah,
Are these
their
the guys
names are
that have
Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum. It's just like, and they have like the hot pink and the baby blues and everything. I am
Yes.
telling you,
Okay, I do.
they
know.
have turned into the fan favorites. They're doing great.
Okay, good. I'll have to check them. I've seen them, and I was wondering who they were. And
Yes.
now when you were describing them, I said, I bet it's the dudes that are like half bald with the bleach blonde hair.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Okay, all right.
And they're hooking up with FTR, and it's funny because it's you know, their styles are obviously quite different, but right now they're putting them together and like these like little like helping each other out and like kind of just like being there for each other. And you know it's going to turn sideways eventually. Like they're going to turn on each other at some point. But like it's like what they needed because they're like so over right now because they just do all the ridiculous 80s stuff. Like look at the camera go, you know, just let the camera linger a little bit too long, and you're like, okay, and they're just like, and they're just doing stuff like that, and just the things that you used to love about the 80s that were so cheesy. Like they're really like leaning heavy into it, so I love it.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous.
Yeah. I'm telling you what. Like, almost all their matches don't last more than like 5 to 8 minutes, so you can probably catch most of the stuff in like a half hour. And it is definitely worth a few minutes of your day to catch some of their stuff. It's great. So yeah.
Well, as we get ready to sign off here, let's talk about the main event. Couple of weeks away. Who's going over in the heavyweight election? Who you got going over? I'm not asking you who you're voting for. What do you think is going to happen?
Are we talking about the real election? I thought you were talking about AEW. No. Man,
I'm talking about the work that is the U.S. government.
As you can see over, I don't know if you can see up in that corner right there. I got my little Donald Trump grabbing the flag and hugging the flag up there in the corner there. But
that's okay. Anyway. All right. So I'm guessing.
But yeah, honestly, if we can get you Georgians to get in line and not throw a curveball like 2020, and we can get a handful of other states on there. Honestly, you know what, dude? A couple months. If you would have asked me about a month and a half ago, my answer might have been a little bit more shaky. But right now, I feel like unless there's some sort of curveball, like, you know, October surprise, as they like to say, which they've already tried to do that this past week, which obviously did not stick. I think that I'm gonna say that Trump wins, but not only does he win, he wins the popular vote and the electoral. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's a landslide.
Wow, really? Okay, all right.
I honestly think. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care how it happens, but I just need him to win. But I'm just throwing it out there that I think that's what'll happen. I think it's a landslide in Trump's favor, and I don't care if he wins by 1 vote or if he wins by 100 million votes. That's all at the end of the day. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't have anything to really say. That's what I just have that feeling, and I feel like it's totally different this time around. What about you, man? I mean, what's your thoughts there, brother man?
Well, I hope it comes. I hope it comes down to Georgia, but just because I like our state being the center of attention.
Oh, glory hogs! Now they're taking all the attention.
Let's just put it this way, pal. I came in. I went and did early voting. Which, by the way, why anybody wouldn't do early voting, I don't know why they wouldn't do it, because I was in and out in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
So I came in with my little Georgia. I voted
a little
sticker.
peach, a little peach on there.
Yeah, and my wife looked at me and she said, "Well, I guess now I got to go vote and cancel yours out." We are,
Oh, dang, dang.
we,
That's a
we
very
are.
heel thing to do. You should tell your wife stop being such a heel.
She's turned heel on me.
Oh
So,
my god,
and the
that does not
thing
make
is,
the Undertaker happy.
yeah, no, it doesn't. It does not. Which, by the way, I did listen to 6 Feet Under, which was grossly entertaining. Um,
Yeah. Well, when you have an hour long 6 Feet Under podcast and 45 minutes of it is Trump asking Taker questions about being a wrestler, I'm okay
wrestling
with that.
questions. Yep.
I was like, this is great.
Tremendous. At the end of the day, man, look, I can only say this.
Uh-oh.
I had more money in my pocket during the 4 years that he was president, and that's,
Mhm.
I hate to say it, but that's how I vote, based on how am I going to, who's going to be the most beneficial for me providing for my family.
Absolutely.
So
Yep. And the thing is, I'll just be really I'll be really transparent, because I know off of this. We've talked on the phone. A little bit about my story, but like I've lived outside the country, right? I've lived in other countries before. My son's mother is from another country, and so I've been on the side of doing all the legal things, all the right things, paying the money, going to all the meetings, going to all the getting all the documentation, doing the inconvenience of making sure we hit the specific dates and times to meet with a certain people to make these decisions, both in America and in Asia, for my situation there and her situation here. And I am one that I've experienced it. I know exactly what the process is like. I see it. I saw it with my own eyes. I paid with my own money. I wrote my own everything by hand, all the documents. And it makes me seethe to know that you can just let people just roll in. We have no idea who these people are, and then the people who've done all the right things have to be pushed to the back of the line for people who aren't even here, should not even been here legally, right? And it's another country in the world's like that. Not another country in the world's like that. I've been in other parts of the world. It's nothing like that. And so, that just makes me nuts. It is so backwards, and it's such a slap in the face to the people who do it the right way. And it just I just can't deal. And like you said, I'm the same way as a father, and as somebody who likes to try to keep enough coinage in my pockets. It makes the most sense for me that I'm going to have somebody who wants to take care of me and my family in a way that seems like they have our best interests at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm right there with you, bro. So yeah, we'll see.
We'll see how
The
it
next
goes.
time what was that? I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say there's people that have character problems,
Yeah.
and there's people that have moral problems with former President Trump. I don't let those things enter in, because at the end of the day, if we're waiting for a perfect person to lead this
Yeah.
country, we're going to be waiting forever, because we all sinned. We have
Right.
all
We fall
messed
short.
up. We're all
Like I've told everybody,
flawed.
and you know this. You're even though you're a WWE mark, you're still a smart guy. It's like at the end of the day, I'm not asking him to be my pastor. I'm not asking him to be my minister. I'm not asking him to be my counselor. I'm not asking him to be my best friend. I'm asking him to do what I think he's trying to do, which is do the best he can for our country and for us as Americans. And is he going, like you said, is he perfect? Absolutely not. No one's perfect. But did I feel like I felt safer, had more money? I felt like my son had a better chance when he was there? Absolutely. And like you said, at the end of the day, that's how I'm thinking. I'm just grateful I don't have a daughter who has to go against males, in sports. It's just so ridiculous, and it's just stuff like that. Like, I mean, we live in an upside down, topsy turvy world right now. And I'm hoping that, things will get calmed down and all that in a couple of weeks, but probably not. It's probably going to be even more ratcheted up at the highest level when it's all said and done. But I mean, a girl can dream, can't she? So, but do you have before I let you go, then, do you feel like, just in general, do you feel like Georgia's heading towards a Trump win in Georgia by what you're hearing and what you're seeing, or do you feel like it's still a toss-up? Because what we're hearing in Indiana, or what we hear by everybody talking, that Trump's up by a couple points, but it's still in the margin of error, and and it could go either way. But your boots on the ground. You're there every day. You're hearing everybody. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's going to be close.
Okay.
I think it's going to be close. I couldn't tell you one way or the other, but I think it's going to be close.
Yeah. Henry said Portland's screwed. Yeah, unfortunately, Henry, you are right. Portland is screwed. Oregon has been lost, along with California and Washington State, for a long, long time. So, but you know what? As long as you're okay and safe, buddy, then that's all I can ask for. But yeah, man. Well, like you said, we will find out, and maybe if Trump ends up winning, he can come in like he did during his acceptance speech for the WWE Hall of Fame with those two ladies walking to their, those voluptuous women to the podium. That'd be great.
All right, Cody Rhodes, quit using them big $4 words like voluptuous.
Oh, voluptuous, yeah. Come on, baby. They're voluptuous women. So yeah, we gotta do it, dude. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. We'll have to do this again in a couple of weeks, maybe. We'll try to do this again. Oh, Henry said Trump Flair. Yeah, there's a ticket for you. There's so many legal issues on that ticket. We don't want that one.
I think between the two of them, they have one functioning liver. So.
Did you see that? By the way, did you see that video of Flair getting thrown out of that restaurant/bar in Florida a couple weeks ago?
I did see that.
Oh sad, my God!
It's sad.
Yeah.
That guy was on his deathbed because of all that. All that
he
stuff.
I'm sorry.
He was on his deathbed because of all of his shenanigans, and he's right back to it.
I know. You just beat me to it. I'm like, the guy literally had a brush with legit death. Like, he had one foot on the grave and one on a banana peel. And then this is how he's treating his second chance by doing this nonsense.
He's telling death like he told all the wrestlers in his career: to be the man, you got to beat the man.
I know, dude. That's very true. He's out there styling and profiling it to the end. All right. On that note, we'll let you go, brother. You take care, man. We'll see you soon.
All right, pal. Look forward to it.
All right. See you guys. Take care, Henry. See you, bud.
See you, man.
Bye, buddy.